I wanted to share with you what Watering Hole is for those of you who are new to this meeting series. To be honest, we're all kind of new to it because this is our second meeting, but it was so successful the first time, we knew we were doing something right. So the Watering Hole is a virtual third space. It's a gathering, just like the watering hole in the savannah. We all convene from different places, and we're here to connect on metabolic health. We like to program it a little bit and have a really exciting speakers like Justin today to make it interactive and to learn something. But ultimately, the goal here is to serve as a launch pad. Like people come here, they convene, you find each other, you connect, and who knows what kind of synergies will happen. And you may find someone with similar interests or in the same town, and you can launch your own groups, your own rebuild group, creating your own community. So this is really exciting. Just a disclaimer as well, these gatherings. Well, I'll hand it over to Natasha to give the disclaimer about the gatherings, but she posted them in the chat. They're for informational purposes. So just read that disclaimer. We're not giving medical advice or anything in these meetings today. Okay. And a note for everyone as well that we are recording this meeting because we want to share it with people who can't make it, and it'll be posted on YouTube later. Um, Everyone is muted, and we ask that you don't speak during Justin's segment. However, we will have a breakout discussion component. And if you have questions for Justin, make sure that you pop those in the chat, and we will get to those in the discussion portion because he won't be able to stay on till the very end of the call. So don't hold on to your questions to the very end. Share them in the chat, and we'll have a designated time to discuss them. So that brings us to our very special speaker, Justin Ternes. Dr. Justin Ternes is an advocate for holistic health optimization. His practice, True Self Health and Human Performance, it includes holistic health, performance coaching, meditation, and of course today, breath work that we are focusing on, among many other things. You can learn more at his website, trueself.health. We'll put that in the chat. But I want to hand it over now to Dr. Ternes to introduce himself and what he'll be sharing with us today as it pertains to breath work.
It's a pleasure to be here. Very excited to be here. I'm a big fan of all things metabolic health. I see some familiar faces, and hopefully those who are new will become familiar faces. As mentioned, I teach breath work. I'm based in Northwest Arkansas. Has anyone been to the Ozarks? Anyone? Bueller? One, yeah. Okay. Beautiful area in the southern United States, quite underrated. And yeah, so here is where I practice my physical therapy and breath work. Most of my breath work is online. I do one-on-one coaching as well as group coaching and workshops like this. This is one of my passions, sharing the art of breath. Let's take another breath. Deep breath in and let it go. This will be an interactive session because as I'm talking, I'll be inviting breathing. Although we're all breathing all the time, anyone have a guess? How many breaths per day? In the chat, let's get our fingers activated, stretched. How many breaths per day? Does anyone have a guess? Maybe one of y'all have seen a post or two on that. And it's okay if there are no guesses. Anyone? Zero, more than zero, 100 million, a little bit less than 100, somewhere between 0 and 100 million. 25,000 times per day we breathe. 22,000 times, 25,000. It depends on the person. There's a lot of individuality between that will determine how many breaths you take per day. But that's a lot of breathing. How many do we think about? Zero, a few. Some of us conscious of our breathing. It's becoming very popular as a practice for mind, body, health, spirit. And I would love to speak into all of the components. We do have maybe 30 minutes of discussion. I do want to incorporate some active breathing practices. So we'll build up to that. And I could likely talk for 3 hours or 3 weeks on breath, I am maybe one of the biggest breathing nerds that you'll find out there. There's so much cool research coming out on breathing, breathwork techniques, mindfulness based breathing, or more of the psychoactive holotropic breathing, Wim Hof breathing, active breathing, stimulating, empowering breath, Kundalini, some ancient traditional practices. So, breath work as a tool, breathing as a tool to enhance the human experience has been around since the beginning of human history. But it seems that there is a rise in curiosity. And so I want to help support any curiosity on breath work. And as mentioned, please type in questions. We'll create space at the end for questions, but type them in as they pop up. We'll note them and return to them later. I might catch one and answer it in the moment. But yeah, keep those coming. And that will really fuel and guide our session today. Okay, I've invited a couple breaths. Let's do another deep breath in and let it go. Okay, so breath 101. Breath 101, we inhale oxygen, back to elementary school. Exhale carbon dioxide, inhale oxygen, exhale CO2. CO2 goes out into the world. Plants absorb CO2, create energy, and also create oxygen in return. So breathing is a part of the circle of life. Whenever we breathe oxygen in, it is utilized in the cellular system. Has anyone heard of mitochondria? Just kidding. Just kidding. I knew that this group would be very interested in mitochondria and metabolism, but slightly different than metabolism that we all know quite intimately. Respiratory metabolism is the process by which we take the oxygen molecules, O2, split them apart, create energy, create life, which is necessary. Let's do another inhale and hold our breath. So inhale and hold it all together. Deep breath in and hold it. And hold it as you're holding. Relax the shoulders. Keep holding. How long can you go? 10 seconds, 20, 30 seconds? No competition, but let's see who wins the competition. No competition, but who can go? Just kidding. Go as long as feels good, right? No ego. Just notice the shift, the urge to breathe, the comfortability, the shift from feeling comfortable and relaxed to, okay, I have to go. I have to breathe. We can go days without food, and I'm sure many of us are familiar with that as well. But we can't go much more than a couple minutes without breath. So respiration is essential for life. And in breathing, because we do it all the time, it's like, so what? Well, there are ways that we can improve our breath. And I want to give a few tips that you can walk away with and use on a daily basis that will improve your health, improve your breathing. And I'm a big nerd on many layers beyond breath, metabolism and mitochondria being one of them. I'm in the right room. I feel like I'm amongst friends and fellow metabolic nerds. But I think about Dr. Martin Picard's work and thinking about allostasis and stress and how much energy we have in our system to be allocated to different energy systems within our body to keep function going. The more efficient you breathe, the better you breathe, the more efficient you can create and process energy, move energy to the appropriate layers. I mentioned 22,000 times per day we breathe, 25,000. Some of us are what would be called habitual mouth breathers or overbreathers or email apnea. You're holding your breath as you're typing your emails and you're not paying attention because you're so focused on computer and work. And then you realize, like, I haven't taken a breath in a while. So apnea is the unconscious holding of a breath until you feel the urge to breathe. When we breathe inefficiently, that's exhausting to the nervous system. That's exhausting to the energy system. So you won't have as much fuel for things that lead to rest, repair, maintenance, or function, mental function, cognitive function. And so we'll go a little bit into that rabbit hole as well. But where I really like to start my sessions and workshops is on the mechanics of breathing, because as we all took a deep breath in together, everyone's taking a different breath, some in through the nose, some through the mouth. A lot of us have heard about belly breathing and only belly breathe because that's the best breath. So you just breathe into your stomach. For me, I lift it up. So I want to unify our breath and help inspire some curiosity about how are you breathing right now. So without adding anything to your breath, just note within yourself a couple moments of mindfulness. Notice your breathing, nasal or mouth breathing, upper chest. Do you feel like that your breath is going into the clavicles, into the stomach? Do you feel like you can't really tell? There's a lack of detectableness of connection on where you're breathing, how you're breathing. Feel free to share a few thoughts if you're open. Let's check in for myself. I have a little clog of my right nostril, so very left oriented in my breathing right now. Feel like my breath is in my low ribs. You can consider this a mindfulness or a meditation practice where you just simply bring your awareness inward to the breath and notice. No right or wrong, no judgment. But thinking about efficient breath, that's where mechanics come in. So whenever we inhale, we can inhale our full capacity, or we can inhale beyond our full capacity. How do we do that? We inhale beyond our inhale capacity by improving, opening our posture, re-articulating our physical form to create more space so that the lungs can inhale a little bit more, right? So I do like the combination of breath and movement. Breath is movement. When you breathe, the respiratory muscles move, the ribs move. So there is a natural movement component. So when I'm thinking about breathing better and breathing deeper, I like to shift my weight, sit up a little bit tall. Again, find comfort. But if we're thinking about taking a full expansive breath, notice this shift, notice this lift. For me, from the side angle, it's like I'm doing a seated cat-cow. So I'm working on opening and closing. And we'll go into this warm-up where our hands come together. And as you inhale, we're just going to open as you inhale, gentle and open a little bit. As you exhale, hands come together naturally. I like in nose, out mouth. We can start there with in nose. And then hands come together, out mouth. Good. Inhale. And then hands come together. Let's do one more. So inhale and hold it. Inhale, hold. As you hold, turn your hands into fists and then show off your muscles. Oh, yeah. Strong group. Okay, here we go. Exhale, relax. Let it go. Roll the shoulders. Twist the spine. And then slow down your breathing. Slow down your breathing and check inward once again. That wasn't a significantly large breath, but maybe slightly different than normal. Does it shift your nervous system? Do you feel your any visceral response? Sometimes even a smaller or a slightly bigger than normal breath for me gets my armpits a little bit sweaty, buzzing, tingling in the fingers. We're going to continue to build on a bigger breath. So continue to stay curious. Thank you for breathing. As we're breathing, if you do get lightheaded or dizzy, and I'm not going to take us into a really strong, deep, crazy Wim Hof style activating breath, but some of the bigger than normal breaths can stimulate the nervous system. Sometimes that stimulation rises with a felt sensation that's similar to anxiety or panic or nervousness. So the encouragement is to breathe bigger, but sometimes when you breathe bigger, your body's like, no, 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 don't like that. Close down. So listen and breathe at whatever layer feels good. So if Dr. Justin says, breathe in all the way, do this thing, and your nervous system's like, no, thank you. That doesn't look fun. Listen to your nervous system and breathe in whatever way is available. But yeah, on that note, let's go hands back together. We're going to open and then reach arms overhead to stretch the side ribs. So as you inhale, reaching overhead. Here we go. Inhale, reaching up. Good. Tall spine, hands back together, middle. Don't worry so much about the exhale, just a natural exhale. So reaching up overhead, arms up, eyes up, reaching up. Nice, good stretch. Hands back together out. Let's do one more in, reaching up all the way, reaching. Hands back together, let it go. Good. Roll the shoulders, shift your weight. The more movement, anytime I teach a breathwork class, the more I see spontaneous movement. I call it functional fidgeting, the better. That means that we're moving energy, maybe some stagnant. Is anyone stressed in this room by chance? Nobody. Oh, everybody. Yes, we're all stressed. We're all stressed. So we hold stress. We hold stress in our physical body, in our neck, and our shoulders. For me, my philosophy of navigating stress is going into the stress. Just lean in a little bit in a controlled manner and then come back out. Find your rest and relaxation. And this is using the breath to take control of that toggle switch that is the nervous system: sympathetic activation, fight, flight, freeze, and then parasympathetic. I think of parasympathetic like a parachute. Relaxing, slowing down, rest and digest. The issue in today's day and age is chronic stress, buzzing, tingling, excess. It's difficult to find this calm, relaxed state. So we see a rise in box breathing practices or 4-7-8 breathing, calm app meditations. But I often find those don't work when your brain is buzzing and your body's stressed. You tell a body and a mind that's kind of moving too fast to slow down and relax. It's difficult because you're not working with your body. So I encourage deep breath in, no hands needed, but full expansion as if you're reaching up, as if you're lifting your chest. So no hands needed, but using the lungs. Inhale big. Nice, and let it go. Another breath in, deep. We'll just do one more after this, out. And then notice, is this one bigger than how we started? One more in, deep, deep, deep. And then let it go. Shift your weight. And then ask yourself, okay, was that a bigger breath than normal? I saw some heads nod. Some of you are like, I don't know, I can't tell, it's the same. But I'd almost guarantee the movement involvement increases the lung capacity. Now, there's always people who have this thought in the back of their head. Well, I've always been told, don't breathe into your shoulders, don't breathe up here. That's stress inducing. Breathe into your belly. Agree. On a daily basis throughout the day, you want to bring your breath slow and low into the diaphragm. All right. So throughout the day, focus on nasal breathing and slow diaphragmatic breathing. But in a breathwork practice, there's a word work within breathwork, effort. Active breathing, deep breath in. Involved breathing, let it go. So this isn't a diaphragmatic breath, although you are using your diaphragm. I call this a full body breath. Another breath in, full body, and let it go. Nice. Roll the shoulders, shift the weight. So for anyone who has those thoughts, oh, shoulder breathing is bad, it's all situational. I like to teach not a particular method or a particular technique. I like to teach the principles of breathing. That's where I'm trained in breath science and principle-based breathing so that you can understand every single technique but you're not tied to a certain technique. You understand why one technique works in one situation and another. And I call that situational breathing. So you can breathe appropriately in the right situation at the right time. And that's whenever breath work goes from a box breathing technique that feels kind of good, but sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, to using a box breath, but then maybe you're not receptive to a box breath. So you do what I call energize the box breath. You energize, shake up the box, and then you shift into box breathing. Let's play with that. Okay, before we play with the energizing box breath, 4-second inhale, hold for 4 seconds, exhale for 4, 3, 4, hold. Let's do 2 more cycles. So inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold on the bottom for 4. One more cycle. In, hold, exhale, and hold. Catch your breath, breathe normal. It's a calming technique. It's a controlled, slowed, paced breathing, which will help calm the body and nervous system, bring some awareness into the body. I love box breathing, but again, sometimes it doesn't work for me. So we're going to do energize the box. How I just energize the box maybe is different than how you will energize your breath box, but goal for 10 seconds, and that's not very long in the breath world. 10 seconds, activate your breathing. Get some pace going. You don't have to go crazy with it. Listen to your body, but we'll do 10 seconds of active breathing. I'll set a little timer for myself. So just like I did, stimulation a little faster than normal, lightheadedness normal, buzzing, tingling normal, but your body will regulate because our bodies are resilient. Okay, ready, set, 10 seconds. Okay, slow it down. Everyone exhale together. Now we'll do the 4-second in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2. One more cycle. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Slow breath in and slow breath out. Notice the difference. Notice the shift. Is there a difference? I don't know. It's very individualized. Some people feel clear-minded, calm, buzzing, physical sensations or mental sensations. Maybe a one word in the chat. Throw it in there. One word. What is it that is alive, present for you? I do breath work all the time. I teach it every day, and I still just love, I'm very appreciative that that's my job. It's very calming. Calm. I see calm, relaxed, alive, sparkly, present, tingly, focus. Present. Yeah, some consistencies. Calm, relaxed, awake, alert, calm. I find it calm, but also capable. I'm calm, but I'm alert. There's this little bit of both. But guess what? That's what you're activating when you do energizing first and then shift into slow breathing. Like I said, you're stimulating and creating calm. And I think that's the true sweet spot where we should be as humans in our nervous system, not chronic stressed and on edge, but really relaxed, yet present and ready in case a bear jumps in the room, you can move, right? We don't want to be so calm that a bear comes in and you're like, oh, sorry, go somewhere else, right? We want to have a slight connection to our alertness, and yet we want to be able to find a deep state of calm I think that improving your breath capacity and improving the way in which your body can navigate breathing at faster rates, um, that increases your capacity to have calmness, which also increases your body's capacity to be in parasympathetic, which also increases your body's capacity to heal. It tunes and turns down the thinking mind in my personal experience and experience of people I like to guide. And that directly relates with the work that's being complemented by with metabolic practices. So this is principle based, right? It's not just box breathing, but we're taking the principles of activation and then slowing to shift our state, shift our mind state. And yet at the same time, we're still human. You might be stressed and you got things, and then you try all these breathing techniques and you're still stressed and you're still panicking, and it just didn't work. Well, that's where we have a grace and acceptance practice. Breathe into grace and acceptance, and stay consistent with your active breathing. A little pause. I see some questions. I'm going to cruise back up. Book Breath by James Nestor. Love the book. I think that's one of the most instrumental books in the breath movement. Actually, it might be the one that has gained the most popularity. A lot of people who wouldn't be interested in these modalities at all hear about the book, they heard about the book, they listened to it, they learn that nasal breathing is better than mouth breathing, and their mind is blown, and they start to sleep tape, which is the second question, thoughts on mouth taping. So I love the book Breath by James Nestor. I found it was a great book because it was written by a journalist, not by a breath nerd with all kinds of like protocols and things. It seemed as though he did thorough research and told the story of breath in a very storytelling type way, which I loved. Mouth taping is something that he mentions where you put a little strip. I don't have some, actually have some by my bed. So I have a little thing of mouth tape right next to my bed. I don't mouth tape every night, but every now and then I'll notice, okay, I'm waking up with dry mouth. I'm not feeling clear. I slept groggy. And you just take a little strip and you put it on your lips. You're not physically taping your mouth shut that you can't open. A lot of people try mouth taping at night or sleep taping, and they'll wake up and the tape's off and it's on their hand because they grabbed it in the middle of the night. So some people are concerned, like, I don't want to I don't want to suffocate. But it's not so adhesive that you can't open and break the seal. The thing about mouth taping is it provides a proprioceptive input to your lips so that whenever you feel the habitual urge to open your mouth while you're sleeping, it just gives you a subtle reminder, no, keep the mouth shut, keep breathing through the nose. If my nose is
That's,
ever clogged, yeah.
I think that, so that was my question. I didn't realize how it worked, and I thought it was just by sheer force, it just kept it closed. So it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
nice to know that it's like a subtle, gentle reminder. Um,
Subtle, gentle. And I like the tape that covers the middle right here, because then you can still
mhm.
breathe up the sides and even talk, even though it looks and sounds funny. But yeah, it's not a trap. And I think that's the perception a lot of people see, and they're like, absolutely, I would never try that. No way, that's scary. Like kind of like what you're saying. So did your
Yeah.
openness to try it just increase a little bit?
Tip for folks is if you do want to try mouth taping, which is very easy, just get medical tape on Amazon. Don't get those overpriced, like, as I don't know, I'm not going to say brand specifically, but there are
There's a
some that
lot
are
of
so
brands.
expensive, but it's just medical adhesive. So just
Yeah.
buy a roll of that.
I do know of a lot of like tongue exercises, jaw positioning, mewing. That's called mewing, MEW. That's a technique of specifically placing your tongue on the roof of the mouth with a little bit of pressure and maybe even creating a suction. It's like a jaw positioning exercise. Um, that has a lot of positive um, testimonials about the benefits and creating better jaw development. And if you're pressing to the roof of the mouth, also there's support that it helps with nasal breathing, creating a little bit more clarity and spaciousness in the nasal cavity and the sinuses. So um, there's a quick question on air quality and surroundings. They obviously affect our practice. Quality of air is a big thing. What do they call them? There's something called aeronutrients. So there's a study that shows that we breathe in oxygen, we breathe in air that contains nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, but then also micronutrients we can be absorbed into the body through breath, not in such a significant amount that it will be able to mineralize our body or system as much as diet and nutrition. But the research around aeronutrients is enough to say the quality of the air is important. Also, negative quality of air will impact the lungs and impact health. So yeah, you do want to have nature, windows open, get some nice cool winter air into your nasal cavity. But good. Back to breathing. Another breath in and let it go. So I gave a little intro on shifting between different breath practices, different breath layers. Given our time, like I said, I could talk for 3 hours. Time flies when we're having fun. I hope you all are too. I want to introduce a little bit more of an active rhythmical breath. They call this circular breathing, where your inhale connects to the exhale. It's almost like there's a little bit of movement of the body as you inhale, you lift forward and up, exhale, round and down. You can just think about this inhale, circular breathing. Some call this conscious connected breathing. So it's a rhythmical breath in and out, in and out. Just a couple more. Find that rhythm. Find that flow. And out. One more in, hold at the top, inhale and hold it. Hold at the top. And then exhale and hold on the bottom. Exhale, hold on the bottom for 10, 9, 8, 7. Can you hold on the bottom for 6, 5, 4, 3? Likely you can hold on the bottom without air for much longer than you would think. Okay, breathe normal. So as we were demonstrating a little circular breathing, everyone again was breathing at their own layer, at their own cadence. We can call that resonance breathing. Breathing in a way that really resonates to you in the moment, but also breathing in a way that doesn't just resonate to where you are in the moment, but amplifies it just slightly. Inhale deeper, slightly deeper in, and a slightly deeper out. So you find your rhythmical circular breath flow. The inhale matches the exhale. Inhale and exhale. So you find this rhythm, and then you find this resonance, but then turn it up just a tiny notch at the top and a little bit, press out the bottom a little bit more than normal. Another in, and then let it go. Another breath in, and let it go. Now breathe normal. But when you breathe normal, think about your resonance of breathing normal. And then in your normal breathing, can you turn it up just ever so slightly at the top, ever so slightly at the bottom? There are breathwork practices that you can do in the morning, set your timer. I do have a few audio recordings that you can listen to, and many guided breathwork practices on my YouTube channel, also on Insight Timer, also on my website. And I'll share that with the Metabolic Collective team to share with the community. So you can listen and flow along. Breathwork practices in the morning, a great way to start the morning. In a traffic jam, whenever you're safe and you're not driving at all, no breath work while driving or operating heavy machinery or while swimming. But if you're in a car and you're parked and there's a red light and you're in park and you're safe, like do some breaths. It can help relieve some stress. But what I find to be most beneficial was whenever I went from doing a breathwork practice every single day and being really dedicated to my morning breathwork practice, and then realizing, oh, I can just breathe a little better all day throughout the day. And that's what really moved the needle for me metabolically. I remember it was maybe 4 years ago, and I learned about slow breathing, the effect of nasal breathing only. So zip the mouth and just breathe through the nose as much as you can all day throughout the day. I must have been mouth breathing without thinking about it so much at the time. Um, but I just started breathing slower than normal, a little deeper than normal, kind of like that resonance breath, but adding a little bit more to it, essentially taking a maybe a 4 second breath and making it a 6 second breath, just slowing down my respiratory rate and bringing a lot of awareness to that throughout the day. 1 week later, I weighed 5 pounds less, but I felt great. I lost weight. I just changed my breath, but I didn't breathe fast or deep or strong. I didn't change anything. I just breathed a little bit more slow. I believe I lost unhealthy fat. My muscle, I didn't feel like I lost any muscle strength, but it was very striking to me how much a little shift in breathing 20,000 times a day. I probably wasn't doing that consciously 20,000 times, maybe 5,000, maybe 500. Regardless, a little bit of awareness to my breathing and the way that I breathe, it shifted my physiology. I lost weight. Also, it shifted my psychology. I found myself walking around and I was thinking, all I'm thinking about is breathing. This is kind of boring. And then another voice in my head said, it's way better than the other things that you think about all the time. And I was like, oh, that's a good point. I kind of like thinking about breathing all the time. So we can actively bring awareness to our breathing, which brings awareness to introspection, to feeling within, which brings awareness to presence within, which opens us to presence in the world around us. That's energy conserving, maybe energy empowering. And I do think that it breathing efficiently moves the needle metabolically a lot more than we know and has been backed by research. Not yet, but I do feel like if there's a researcher out there and they want to get curious, there will be some profound insights taken away. Um, so resonance, question resonance, just resonating within yourself, I think, is the primary focus of that. There's a lot of different layers of this. Mm-hmm.
So I'm kind of curious, Justin, do you have tips for the people who would like to do more but can't seem to find the best ways to fit it in?
So for me, I like the quote by Eckhart Tolle, which is single breath in and out is a meditation, right? So you're doing it all the time anyway. Breath reminders, a sticky note, breathe. I worked at a co-work space um, a few years ago, and I just got a text from someone who was working there, and they took a picture of a sticky note that I had wrote like 3 years ago, and it was still on the wall, and it said reminder to breathe. And he's like, hey, I think about this all the time. Thank you. Like, it's a good reminder. Sticky note. That's a breath work practice, right? That's breath awareness practice. Like I mentioned, there's breath work techniques that you can watch on YouTube. You can search, you can follow Justin and find the best breathing exercises. There's all kinds of great breathing techniques out there, but there's techniques, and then there's implementing the idea and concept of just breathing. The other best reminder to breathe. Does anyone ever do that? Just a big sigh. You're stressed, maybe overwhelmed. Like you catch yourself. It's an involuntary physiological sigh. Whenever I catch my body doing that, I'm not doing that. My body is basically saying like, hello, like reminder to breathe. Anytime I sigh, I triple it up. I take 3 strong inhale, strong exhale. 2. Let's do this together. So everyone take a sigh. Everyone have a big sigh. Okay, signal. Let's all take a deep breath in, open. Exhale, strong out. All the way in, open. Stretching, moving the physical body out. Rounding the spine. One more, lifting chest, opening shoulders wide open, big. Hold it. And then exhale, relax, let it go. That's my favorite breath work technique. Deep sigh, indication that you do need a breath in this morning, or in this moment. So might as well just take 3, and that also adds up. As far as daily practice, ritual, routine, I'm a fan of morning breath work. As light a candle, light an incense, do some stretches, do movement with my breathing just to connect and correlate. But I do also like to do active breathing, which would be more Wim Hof style, strong, deep, consistent, a little bit more activating, a little more stimulating. Also with exhale retention, where you exhale and hold it for a minute. For a minute and a half, you hold your breath for 2 minutes, as long as it feels good. You have enough oxygen likely to hold longer than you think. But as you hold your breath longer than you think, carbon dioxide rises, thoughts start buzzing, a little fear comes up. But that's a perfect opportunity to create stress resiliency, to notice how you react to and respond to stress. I really like the Wim Hof style. I don't practice Wim Hof per se. I take the principles: strong, active breathing, exhale, retention. And that's a great one to practice. Let's do one practice and then one like true rhythmical breath. So practice. We're going to breathe strong and deep, creating some rhythm, kind of like that circular breath, but a little bit more active. And then we're going to exhale. Let's all exhale and hold it. Holding. Right? So notice as you're holding, there's ease, relaxation. You feel calm, not a lot of stress or urgency to breathe. Okay, maybe now you're like, yeah, I'm starting to come. Whenever you do need to breathe, guess what? Listen and breathe. A tip, whenever you exhale, there are 2 layers to your exhale. First layer is as if you're exhaling and a gentle feather is falling. And whenever that feather naturally lands, you just hold your breath. So let's do one of those where you inhale all the way, deep inhale. Exhale gentle as if a flower or a feather falling, and then it lands naturally. Feel how it's so easy just to hold right there. There's not a lot of stress. Another breath in. Gentle feather, exhale. Hold and relax. Now blow out the rest. Blow out the rest. Blow everything. Blow it out. Notice how much more was there. That's the second layer. I call this the basement breath. For a lot of us, we have basements. We haven't gone down in the basement in a while. There's cobwebs and boxes and skeleton things. And you're like, oh, dang, I need to clean out the basement. So the second layer of breath is clearing out the basement. So this is called a 2-part exhale. Gentle feather, hold it. Blow out the rest. All together, deep breath in. Gentle exhale, hold it. Hold it for 3, 2. Now blow out the basement. Strong blow. Good. Deep breath in. Exhale, gentle. Holding, relaxing. 3, 2. Okay, now strong. Force, blow it out. Good. One more in. Gentle exhale, gentle holding. Now blow out the rest, blow out the rest. The deeper you exhale, the more space for a bigger inhale. One more in. All the way in, holding. And then let it go. Relax the shoulders. Shift your weight. Stretch. And notice a little bit, maybe a little more stimulating. Sometimes going deeper into the exhale is more stimulating than coming up into a stronger, deeper into an exhale is more stimulating than lifting up into a higher inhale. Did anyone feel that? A little bit more activation stimulation. Okay. So for the rhythmical activating breath that we're going to do, we're not basement breathing. So just leave that one out. But that's a great warm up. That's a great morning. That's a great stress reliever. Middle of the day, I do basement breaths if I'm overwhelmed. I really focus on getting to that exhale layer. Anyway, so we're going to do 10 breaths where you inhale, gentle feather, inhale, gentle feather, inhale, gentle feather. On the final exhale, hold your breath and relax, not holding forever, not holding too long, safely, be in a safe space. So here we go. Full breath in, gentle feather. Number 2, in, gentle feather. Number 3, in, and let it go. All the way in, and let it go. Let's go a little deeper in, maybe a little faster feather out. In, faster feather. For 3, faster feather. Let's slow it down. Slow it down. Good. One more, then we're exhale holding. One more in. Exhale with ease, gentle feather. Seal the lips, hold the breath, and relax. No breath in, no breath out, no breath needed. No right or wrong. No right or wrong. See how long you can go comfortably. There will be an initial urge to breathe. Just note how long before you felt the urge to breathe, and then see if you can hold 5-10 seconds longer. There's a psychological urge to breathe, but also there's a physiological urge to breathe, which comes from a rise of carbon dioxide. But if you lean into that, you can find some resilience. 35 seconds. Anyone nod your head if you're still holding? Couple nodding their head. Nice. 40 seconds. Way more than you think, right? So that preparation, the movement of oxygen before, the breathing before can really help. Good. 50. Anyone nod your head if you're still going? 51. Some of y'all are like, what? Struggle. Yeah, you're like struggling. You're like, oh, I can't do it. No. 1 minute. Okay. If you want to keep going, go for it. Otherwise, all together, best breath in holding, best breath holding just for 2 seconds, and then let it go, relax. And then catch your breath and calm down the nervous system and body. Notice the shift. Notice what you notice. Let's get another word in the chat. What's the word that's present right now? What is the word? For those curious about breathing practices and involving, what did we do? We did 10 breaths. That took like 2 minutes in total. And it is energizing, peaceful. Yeah, you're like, oh, I call that breathlessness, nothingness, timelessness. This is a good space to be in. But of course, guess what? I need to breathe. I need to cough. Please do not practice this while driving or operating heavy machinery or while in swimming pools or water. It's not the safest because you can elicit fainting. Do it seated or laying down. Fainting shouldn't happen unless you push yourself excessively. So if you do it appropriately, like we just did, which is modulating and slow and gentle, that should be easily safe for every human. Clear, relaxed, peaceful, energized. Beautiful. I'll be here for another 10 minutes. So I'm happy to answer questions. Curious, Emily, if you have a thought on the flow, and then I see a question right now. Wim Hof method using a pulse ox. So I'll answer that. Pulse oximeter, you put it on your finger. It tells you how much oxygen saturation. I usually have one like in my pocket. Whenever you do an exhale hold, you'll probably be in 99, 98% oxygen saturation for the first 40 seconds, 45 seconds. It's not until you really feel the struggle that oxygen saturation starts to drop, because even though you're not breathing, you have plenty of oxygen in your heart, in your blood, in your circulatory system, in your brain. So your body doesn't really start to lose oxygen until you start to like struggle, and then you're pushing and turning this into like a strength, stress, resilience type practice. So I like using that. I like using that initially just to be like wowed by the fact that I can drop my oxygen, because as soon as you get to that layer of urge to breathe, oxygen will start to drop quite fast into the 80s, into the 70 percentiles, into the 60s, way more than you think. This is very acute. In a hospital setting, they would be like, oh my gosh, something really bad is happening. But this is a really acute, controlled, voluntary practice. It is safe. So whenever you go into that low oxygen, it'll bounce back within 2 breaths. So think of it as like a breath exercise, a respiratory exercise. But also, if you have any concerns about medical issues, consult with your doctor for sure. There are some contraindications with maybe severe cardiovascular issues. So be mindful of those components and ask me questions. Please reach out to me outside of this or send an email. I would love to answer any questions that pop up in your head later tomorrow, whenever you're driving and you're like, how do I have less stress while driving? Resonance. Okay. Connection. Okay. All right, Emily.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely do the physiological side. Not the physiological side, because that's a big with the inhale and deeper inhale, and I don't really do that when I drive, but the vocal part of the sigh, I do that in LA traffic, and that's how I survive that.
Yeah.
So you can direct those questions to the chat, but I really want to give us time and opportunity to connect with each other. That is the goal of the Watering Hole series is this can reliably happen each month. You know that you can find your fellow people of the Metabolic Collective community. And that's what we're trying to do is connect each other. So we're going to break people out into breakout rooms shortly. And I think that's something that if you are struggling, what to talk about, then I actually just drafted a little question here. Justin basically added 4 new tools to our breathwork toolbox. We have the traditional box breath, you got the 2-part exhale, gentle feather plus basement, and those are the relaxing category. Then you've got the activating category. We got 2 in that toolbox too, energized box and the rhythmical activating. So I'm really curious, what people's favorites are, and I think that could be something that you guys chat about in these breakout rooms. Maybe, I don't know, maybe there's a personality component, maybe there's something age-wise, like older people prefer ones that I don't
Mm.
know. I think it could be interesting to talk about, but most importantly, just connect with each other authentically and share what brought you to today's meeting. Because I think we're all craving connection, and that today, breath work is how we're connecting.
Mm.
And that's the goal of the breakouts. So, without further ado, Justin, thank you for being part of this.
If
We've
you're
got
ever in
4.
Northwest Arkansas, Bentonville, look me up. Would love to breathe, nerd out on all things. And this is a pleasure. You can find me, like as mentioned, in YouTube and or Instagram. Is My Instagram is True Self Health, all one word. And very grateful. Thank you all so much for having me. Looking forward to doing another one in the future. And this is great.
Thank you.